What's one thing you have no doubt about?
My success.
Your success.
Yeah.
Straight like that. Come on.
I know it's God's favor for the position I'm in. And all them losses took the toll, so now I savor my wins. I work with niggas I looked up to, now they hate on my pen. And I can't explain these transitions and these phases I'm in.
Y'all already know what time it is, man. It's time to shout out our Black-owned brand of the day. And you see what I got on. Fade U, man. It's Fade University. Fearless, attitude, determination, excellence. You can find them on Instagram at Fade Clothing LLC and on their website at fadeclothingllc.com. And tap in with your Black-owned brand. Get you some. Fade U. Be fearless. Have attitude, determination, and excellence. Enjoy the show. Why your success? Why is that something you have no doubt about?
I just feel that, like, not only do I believe in myself, I believe in God. And I know that God made me. So God wouldn't make something that's defective, something that can't make it, something that's not able to accomplish everything and every obstacle and overcome every obstacle that he put in front of me to become the person that I know he's set for me to be.
Yeah.
So I think my belief in my success is just as strong as my belief in God.
And where did that belief in God stem from? I mean, I know your father's a pastor, and grew up in a church home. Kind of talk about that, your upbringing.
So growing up, everything around me was Christianity. Like you said, parents being pastors. I got uncles that's also in leadership in church, as well as extended family members. So everything was always Christianity, Christianity, Christianity. But me, myself, I actually stepped away from it for a little bit. And I had to reevaluate my life and everything and what I specifically believed in, because growing up with everything being Christianity, there was never no outlet to explore any other religions, any other walks of life. It was just what it was and what we were given. So as I got older and I got to go to these different places and go to school in different places around the country, I interact with a lot of different individuals that came from different backgrounds and walks of life that didn't necessarily grow up in the same situation as me. They grew up with a different faith. They grew up in a different culture. So I began to ask myself, we were taught that if you're not Christian, you're not going to make it to heaven. You're going to die. It's a sin. So who's right and who's wrong? And it just caused me to question everything, step back and say, you know what, maybe nobody's right, maybe nobody's wrong. Maybe it's all about personal choice and belief. So just stepping back from it and reading a lot of different books, interviewing, talking to a lot of different people, I was able to formulate my own relationship and come back to Christianity, but this time with a stronger conviction and a better understanding about it being more of a personal relationship with me and God, and less something that's more community and everybody has to have that same relationship.
Yeah. That's big. Definitely struggle with my faith, in my time growing up in the church. So I definitely understand where that comes from, especially wanting to know the right answer. Like, we got a lot of questions, and you read the Bible, you question a lot. But seeking for yourself, that's also in the Bible. Being able to seek and understand for yourself and have that direct relationship with God. So that's amazing, man. I definitely feel that. With the brand out of success, there's nothing we can't do. Breaking that barrier, but also having that internal and external force of just knowing whose we are to be as successful as we want to be. So definitely align with that. But in terms of growing up, like, you have your brothers and sisters. Talk a little bit about your upbringing and, growing up in the house, outside of just Christianity.
All right. So, definitely, it's kind of hard to say growing up in the house without the Christianity. Like I said, back to the Christianity being such a big part. But definitely, so a little bit just about, I guess, the relationships and how everything in the household works that way. When you have two parents that are in leadership, it's tough. They got to make a lot of sacrifices to run the church, to deal with everybody else's problem, because as pastors and first ladies, you're everybody's therapist, you're everybody's first responder to a lot of the issues. So if everybody's always calling you with issues and you're dealing with 20, 30, 40, 50 members, who do you think normally gets put on the back burner? Who do you think normally has to get the crumbs or the last little bit of energy that left? A lot of times it's the kids. So both my parents worked full-time jobs outside of ministry, so they were always very, very busy, but it allowed me and my younger brother to develop a really, really strong relationship, always being there, being around each other. Me and my older siblings, our relationship was kind of checkered just a little bit because they were living outside of the house my entire life. So that relationship was always a little strained. But as we got older, we began to develop a lot closer relationship, especially me and my sister. Me and my older brother, unfortunately, passed away in 2017. Growing up, our relationship wasn't as strong when I was younger, only because of some of the things that he was into. My mom really wanted to keep me away from that because everybody knows, you're a younger brother. Every younger sibling looks up to the older sibling.
Yeah.
You want to be just like them. But unfortunately, in his situation and the route that he was going in life, that really wasn't the best option for me to be just like him. And my mother understood that when I was young, but I don't think I necessarily understood that being very young. I always just wanted to be with him, always wanted to be around him. Couldn't really understand why she kind of kept that distance there. But as I got older and I was able to, have more autonomy and make a lot more of my own decisions, I started to hang around my brother more. We actually got really close the year before he died. We would go to the gym. He would come to my AAU games. He would pick me up and stuff like that. I even got a funny story about how he picked me up from the last AAU game he went to, and I had just got my permit, and he offered me to drive his car. He had this really nice Infiniti, really fast, and I was scared to drive it. But looking back, I wish I would have just took the opportunity to drive that car, and not knowing that I would never get the opportunity to drive a car with him in it. But as we got older, we got closer. But he passed away, and his death definitely had a big effect on me in my life.
Yeah, I mean, that was my next question. Because I remember when it happened. I remember getting the call, and, it was something, obviously I'm 100 miles away, and I remember the effects that it had on you. Kind of talk about that and how that shaped you moving forward, because, that's not something you can, just easily come back from. And that's something that probably sticks with you, but, you definitely handle it, and you handle it well, just to be the person that you are today. So how did that really affect you and mold you into the person you are right now?
Well, I would, like I said, just going back to my foundation, growing up, like I said, being in a really strict Christian household, a lot of the foolishness and distractions were kind of cut out. Didn't grow up smoking, didn't grow up drinking, anything like that. But then after my brother passed, everything kind of changed for me. I think that I was going through a lot of pain. So in that point in my life, I just started seeking escape. Like everything for me was escape, escape, escape. How can I get away? How can I get away from this feeling that just won't seem to leave me? So I think when he initially died, I was broken, like completely broken. I can remember around this time I was going to Southern High School. Obviously, I had transferred from Indian Creek, and I would be in math class. My senior year, I'd be in math class, and I couldn't remember a single thing. Like the teacher would be talking, I'm in tears. But the room would be dark. We had stats. So for some reason, she always used the projector. The room was dark. So a lot of people didn't notice. They couldn't see. Like I would have tears coming down my face. In class, I couldn't remember anything anymore. Like all I could think about all day was the images, the screaming from that night. Like it just all played back in my head. So yeah, definitely broken. And then I had to try to take that broken version of myself and be an example, because around that time as well, we had found out that he had left a son behind. My nephew, Arion, he was very young, 3, getting ready to turn 4. We had just found out about him. So he didn't really get to have a relationship with my brother because they were in the process of figuring all that out when he passed away. So it was kind of one of those situations where somebody has to step up. It wasn't that anybody was telling me to step up. I just felt this compulsive feeling that like somebody got to step up, somebody got to be there. So I was broken, but I was also trying to be a role model for him. So I was trying to balance basketball, my emotional life, and then I started obviously deviating and getting into some more things that were a lot more distracting, all because I was trying to escape. So going through all those things, it also led me to seek answers. Because like I said, growing up in the house, mom trying to keep me very sheltered, I was a novice to a lot of things that went on outside of my household and outside of the church. So my brother passed away, he's in the streets. I want answers. I want to figure out what happened. So I just started hanging outside more. And the more and more I start hanging outside, you start seeing the lifestyle. You start seeing how people can get caught up in it. Because, I mean, obviously it's flashy, it's addicting. There's things that come with it. But then, like I said, you're after the answers. So you're hanging out there more and more. But if you put a bad apple in a basket with 10 other bad apples, that one bad apple is eventually going to go rot. He's eventually going to start to get some of that on him. So I started to pick up on some of the traits, behaviors, attitudes, and it just started to stick with me. So then I transferred, I transitioned into my college life. But at this time, I've already been hanging outside for about 2 years now. I got some of those habits, some of that demeanor, some of that attitude with me, and I'm still hurt. I'm still broken, I'm still angry. So I go to college and I'm 17 hours across the country. and I'm by myself. I don't really know anybody. The coach that actually recruited me to come out there, I get there the first day and find out he's not even there anymore. He's gone. So I'm in a situation where I don't know anybody and the people there don't really know me. And they didn't necessarily even really want me there because it's not the guy who brought me in.
Right.
So, you're freshman, you play basketball, your freshman year in college is very talented, especially when you're coming from playing high school, averaging a bunch of points, to going back to now sitting on the bench, starting that process over, and still dealing with the emotional issues I'm dealing with and being by myself. I just became more and more depressed. And that's when I really started to notice that my mental health was truly deteriorating to a point of just always being by myself, being away from people, and then just like being in college with no guidance. Nobody in my family had really been to college before. So a lot of those questions about the college lifestyle and managing the workload, I couldn't really have those conversations with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And then also being in the emotional space I was in, I kind of took myself away from anybody that might have could have helped me because I just was hurt and broken.
Yeah.
So.
And would you say, you went prep, didn't you?
Yeah.
You went prep, JUCO, and then, 4 years. And over the time, it's like I would watch some games and I would watch some things, and I'm like, man, because I like, like when you hoop, you grow up hooping with people, and it's a difference, right? It's a difference when you're watching them playing in college.
Mm-hmm.
Some might be excelling, some might be trying to figure it out, and some might just be BSing. Like, they're capable of other things, and that was one of the things that, watching the games, it's like, man, this is not the Jairus I know.
Yeah.
How did you navigate through that, figure that out, and then, continue on playing basketball? Because there was one point where you stopped, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so talk about that, where it just became too much for you, and you just was on your verge of really just giving up.
Yeah, I guess that's a great question. I don't think when it got to the college level, I don't think I ever truly figured it out until I left.
So you stopped.
So I was done with college basketball. That's why I think I genuinely figured out the difference in the levels of the games. I pretty much struggled at every single level, and I was on scholarship. So that's even interesting to say that, because I guess we'll get to the point of me dropping out. But like I said, my first year, not really playing, being somewhere really far away, I developed, like I said, bad habits. I wasn't getting in the gym every single day like I should have been. I wasn't putting in the extra work like I should have been. And this is crazy because in high school, I was a lab rat. So like I said, those bad habits, and a big part of that was due to the fact of my mental health and being where I was at. I wasn't even the same Jairus that you knew when you had met me before those incidents. So I was definitely broken. And then like going to JUCO after leaving that first year, because I was on scholarship my freshman year, the full year, and I went to that JUCO. But when I went to that JUCO, a lot of people know I had a conversation with the coach at my first year, and without saying it, he basically was like, yeah, we don't really want you back because of just the way I was acting while I was out there. So then going to that JUCO, great JUCO, great opportunity. This is probably the most opportunity I've ever had in my life regarding basketball. We're talking about playing Chipola, Florida Southwestern, some of the highest level Division I JUCOs. We go to a summer tournament out in Alabama, and I'm talking about every mid-major to some low-high major Division I schools. Every single last one of them there, I leave with like 5 offers and interest. But go back to the actual season part, mental health coming into effect, breaking bad habits, not really getting in the gym as much. A lot of those things started to fade away as I couldn't perform as well during the season because just being down. So then I eventually was able to make it to Bowie State back here in Maryland. Lucky again, got on another full scholarship. This is my third one. I'm going to school from home now. And a lot of things I thought I escaped when I got away started to come back to me. Because remember like my first 2 years, 3 years of actually schooling, I wasn't in Maryland anymore.
Right.
I was in Pennsylvania for prep school, Arkansas, and then South Georgia near the Florida line. So a lot of those people I was hanging out with, a lot of things I was getting caught up in, it disappeared for a couple of years. So, when you're not around those things, it's like, oh yeah, I beat it.
Yeah.
I've broken that addiction, I've broken that habit, it's not a problem anymore. And I come back home and just as fast as I left, I'm right back hanging outside again.
Yeah.
But this time it's different a little bit, a little bit more educated, had different experiences in college, but I'm thinking I can beat it. Like I'm strong enough, I'm not gonna really get sucked into the environment. But it actually, I think, was worse this time than the first time I left. I really got sucked into the environment, and everything that was just going on around me, seeing friends go to jail, be caught up in the wrong stuff, that also took effect on me too. So I just became more sad, more depressed. My grandparents had became sick at the time. Found out my grandmother was dealing with dementia, and my grandfather had developed Parkinson's. So I'm getting up early in the morning. I'm helping them with their therapy. My nephew's now living with me at this point in time in my life. He's literally staying at my house every single day, helping him with school, getting him ready for school. COVID had just happened, so they're going to school from outside of the house, from the house and things like that. And I think it just all became a lot on me. I still had my brother's death that I never truly had addressed and dealt with. So I'm still dealing with that. And then looking and trying to raise his son every day. And then still going outside in a community where you still got the same beef going on that started when my brother then passed away, and still having to hear about it. It was like everything was happening at once. And it really became a lot. And I kept telling myself, you know, I don't think I want to do this anymore. I don't think I really want to play basketball anymore. And I'm going to practice every day. Like I said, there's no issues with the team at Bowie State. Like, I like the people, I like the coach, everything is going good. We didn't even have a season at this point because of COVID, so it's not like I'm not getting any playing time. Something came over me. I just felt like I really genuinely didn't want to do it, so I had dropped out because I was like, yeah, I just need to get some of this stress and get some of this pressure off me. Not realizing that basketball, the brotherhood, the relationships that you build, that was the thing that was really keeping me up. Like that discipline of getting up every day, of going to the gym in the morning and going to do the strength and conditioning with the team. That's what was keeping me going. And when I dropped out, that's when I see myself, I believe, deteriorate to my lowest. Like, I had lost a whole bunch of weight. I'm probably only weighing like 150 pounds right now. I got people hitting me up like, bro, you sick? You sick? I lost a lot of weight. Wasn't really doing much with DoorDash and every day. I believe that was going to be my call to freedom. I was going to DoorDash and trade stocks with it. So that's where I was at mentally. And then it came over me one day. I'm looking at my nephew. Like I said, I lost a bunch of weight. I'm smoking a lot of weed at this time. Like, I can't even tell you the amount. I'm smoking a lot of weed at this time. And I'm looking at my nephew one day, and I'm like, bro, he's seeing me quit. Like, I started thinking about him. Like, he growing up with a father that's dead right now, a single mother that's working really hard to provide for him. He already was raised in the same neighborhood that I started hanging in, so I know what he had already seen. And it's like, he got all these things going against him. What if I'm the only thing holding him up? If I quit, what does he have to look forward to? If I quit, who's going to tell him to keep going when he has a hard time? So just thinking about that and my family, and also being the first one to graduate college in my family, I said, you know, I got to keep going. I got to push through this. So I found a smaller Division III college. I was actually looking at my younger brother. They weren't even interested in me. And they gave me a chance, and I went there to finish up my 2 years of schooling.
So, I mean, you talk about that period when you left Bowie and ended up at the school you graduated from. I mean, I remember talking to you. When we talk, we didn't talk all the time, but when we talk, you know, we have good conversation. Even to this day, obviously a lot closer, but to the point in where I felt like that was a pivotal moment for you, because it wasn't like I knew something was up, but I couldn't really tell exactly what, because of all the knowledge. Like, I mean, y'all, he just started talking about the body, the mind, the brain, like just everything. And I'm just fact overload. And so even got me going, I went pescatarian for 6 months. Which is like some of the best I actually ever felt. You know, but that part, I think you gained a lot of knowledge in that part. And being, you know, a combination between hurt, between depression, between, you know, in a dark place. But it really gave you a lot of sense of perspective. And then, you know, the one day looking at Arion. But, you know, not just Arion having a nephew, now you have children of your own. And the first one came while you was at school. So how did that happen? Well, we know how it happened. What transpired to where, you know, that made you even have to grow up and tighten up even more?
Well, first to start off, bro, imagine getting the news that your girl's pregnant and you about to go into, you're still in your junior year of college. You're not even in your senior year yet, so you haven't even gotten to the last year. And then, normally people have kids when they're in school. A lot of times they drop out, they done. I've already dropped out once.
Already been there.
I've already dropped out once. So, I mean, I think starting out, I was so nervous and scared when I found out. I didn't want to tell anybody. One, because I knew how everybody was looking at me from dropping out the first time, and like I said, losing a bunch of weight and just being fried all the time and stuff like that. I already knew how they were looking at me like. everybody's watching me like, bro, is he gonna be able to pull it off? Is he gonna be able to finish this time? Like, where's his mental health at? Is he strong enough to get through it?
Yeah.
So I'm dealing with all those fears and even telling people on top of that, asking myself, like, bro, you really about to have a kid. How are you gonna afford to take care of a kid in college when you can't really work?
Yeah.
Are you gonna play basketball your senior year? I mean, that's not the only reason you're here to get your education, but you're here because you love the game of basketball because you want to play basketball. So it was tough. I remember my daughter was born, and within 3 days, I think I was with her from max the time we in the hospital. 3 days, I had to go back to school. And they're living in Maryland. I'm living in Pennsylvania. Luckily enough, I had some a former teammate of mine that had played on the team my junior year, had an apartment off campus, was generous enough to let me move in with them. And so my child could come to see me, but I rarely even seen her that much for like the first 3 to 4 months. I seen her on weekends, every 2 weekends for 2 days. Yeah. I got to see my child, and that was pretty much it. I ended up having to get a job at the gas station around the corner of the 7-Eleven. Me and the owner had developed a great relationship because of just going in there talking to him. And he allowed me to stop in and just get some hours. So my schedule every day was hectic, man. I'm getting up every day, doing schoolwork, doing my homework. Then we might got morning workouts or weights. Then I might got class. Then I might get out of class. We might got an open gym or workout or practice. And I might get out of practice, go to the cafeteria for like 15 minutes. I got to report at work at 6 o'clock. I'm at work from 6 till they're supposed to come relieve me at 11, but you can understand this is 7-Eleven. You feel me? It's not a corporate office building, so everybody isn't always on time. I'm getting off 11:30, 12 o'clock. I'm doing the drawers, counting the money, then going home. By the time I get in the bed, get out of the shower, it's like 1:30. Yeah. Going to sleep, waking up, doing it all over every single day. It was even sometimes I would get off from work at 12, my daughter would be sick. They might come up and see me. We might be in a hospital till 5 o'clock in the morning. I get up, might got workouts at 8. So it was tough, but like I said, back to that foundation and belief in God of not putting any obstacle in front of you that you can't overcome. I think it made me who I am for this point in time in my life because obviously trying to be an entrepreneur and accomplish everything I want to accomplish, you know, it's being one yourself. 40-hour work weeks are a joke. You don't work 40 hours as an entrepreneur. No. You work 60, 70, 80. Sometimes you work the entire week, you know, with sleep because you just got to get things done because when you're an entrepreneur, you take on that responsibility of everything. Yeah, if you don't work, you don't eat. You don't work, you don't eat. And then, so I think that point in time in my life of just being bombarded with all that stress and everything pulling me every single way was just preparing me for now, of having to do that now. Yeah. And now I feel like I was able to become accustomed to it in my adult life with my work-life balance, and it's definitely helped build that character. I mean, you go from growing up kind of carefree, being a little sheltered, you know, I understand that, and then, you know, stuff starts to hit you. You know, your brother passed. You still got to graduate. You got a little brother. You got a nephew. You got people looking up to you. Then you go to school. You having issues. You drop out. Then you have a kid. Find out you're having a child. You go back to school. Like, you know, many people be like, man, he done burnt out. Yeah, multiple times. Burnt out. You know, dropped out of school. Went back to school. Now he done got somebody pregnant. It's just a statistic at this point. Yeah, for sure. Then, I was thinking that way about myself. Yeah. Like not being one. And then, you know, you graduate and you start working and you have another kid. Yeah. So now you got 2 kids, and but that hasn't stopped you. And so now what is it that you do? What have you made for yourself and be able to take care of your responsibilities? I think for me, the second kid would change the most is it really brought me back to reality. Like, I think just stemming back all the way back from my brother dying, like I said, back to that point of seeking escape, I seeked escape so much, like I said, smoking a lot of weed and things like that, that I finally got up to a point in my life where a lot of times I wasn't really always grounded in reality because I was always seeking some way to escape, to get away from the pressures of reality that was always being put on me. So you felt like you could just do whatever and no consequences? I mean, yeah. I don't even know if I necessarily consciously like acknowledged that I felt that way, but I definitely was acting that way. Yeah. In like every aspect of my life. And that was before the kids. Like when I say when they came to college and just playing sports, like just not being on top of it, hanging outside, very dangerous situations, things happening all around me. I'm talking about lose freedom, lose your life type of situations. But it just never really hit home. Like, it would hit you in the moment, but then afterwards you would brush it off because that's what everybody around me was doing. So I think having that second child, I really like locked in and came to reality. Not only do I have my 2 children, I got my brother's 2 children that I made a promise and a commitment to, and I'm not breaking my word. So that's 4 of them. So it's like, yeah, it's time to work. It's time to lock in. It's time to be serious. So I think it really just regrounded me, let me get a clearer vision.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're more motivated in situations like that, but also gave me a sense of peace because I've come to understand that like I'm in a situation where my back is going to stay against the wall for the rest of my life. There's no getting off that wall. You're always going to have that pressure. You're always going to have those obligations, those things that you got to meet.
But let me challenge you to like, why do you feel like your back has to be against the wall? Why isn't it like a, kind of like you're saying how you got to this point? Like God will not give you anything you can't handle. So you don't feel like you'll ever be able to give yourself that cushion to just be good, to just be grounded and just be something that, fruit is bearing from all your experiences? Because I mean, I don't, this just me talking, just hearing you speak is that, you've been here before. Obviously, you're responsible for more than just your own life, like, and not even just your brother's children. Like, you have your own seed to take care of. But from a standpoint of back against the wall, what makes you think that's, where you're gonna sit and where you're gonna stay?
I guess the reason I say like my back being against the wall is because with everything I have that I know needs to get done, it's like a constant pressure to get up and work, get up and get it done. Like I do believe I will get to a point in my life where I'm very comfortable with at least making sure me and my immediate family is good. But with that not being my end goal, I don't think I can ever truly get my back off that wall because my end goal is to just leave a lasting impact with starting in my city and then for it to shockwave out, changing the lives of countless young individuals that are seeking for guidance towards entrepreneurship, mentorship, maybe life advice, but just overall leaving the world just a better place for my kids, for their kids to come after, and every generation to follow up.
So what are you doing right now? What is your line of work?
So with my line of work right now, I'm working in life insurance, and I'm trying to also include the mortgages, but strictly right now just working in the life insurance field with finance, going out, helping people protect their assets, protect their legacies, making sure that that transfer of wealth happens smoothly. It's not involving too much government interference, taxes, taking away a lot of things that we already work hard to get. And I think that choosing this line of work, it kind of aligns with my vision of making that impact in the community, of helping the community take the next step in the culture, grow and progress. So we have more successful young Black images, not just the athletes, being an athlete myself, but with the insurance part, all you're really doing is you're helping people make sure that when they pass away, that their legacy doesn't go financially unprotected. So, for example, if somebody has a life insurance policy, just something simple, $250,000, that's $250,000 more that the next generation gets passed down. And then if that person, if those habits are picked up by his children and maybe they can make a little bit more money because the 250 that was left to them, they were able to go maybe become educated with it or maybe educate their children. That's just going to create a line of generations where everybody's making a little bit more, they're getting a little bit more educated, they're all leaving behind a little bit more money. So when you get 3, 4, 5 generations down, everybody's got $500,000 million policies. It's really not as expensive as you think being left to the next generation. All that money's going into one place. Now the family's got a whole lot of money. So when your kids need to go to college, when your grandkids need to go to college, your grandkids want to start a business, they want to go into trade, that money's there. And we don't have to go searching around to get it. We don't got to jump through any loopholes. The money's there. And it started with something as simple as just passing it down. It's just insuring it for very, very cheap prices.
And is that the only thing that you're doing right now, just the financial services, or are you got other things that you got going on?
So outside of financial services, I do work a job with people with disabilities. So in case management is a very rewarding job, very interesting. To say that I think going into case management, I did not have the expectations of it that I thought I would. I thought it's like, it's going to be a boring job. I'm going to push papers every single day. But that's actually tied into my vision of impacting people. I think greatly, if anything, has had the biggest impact on my life within the last year outside of my children. Because when you work with people with disabilities, you get to not only work with a vulnerable part of the population, but sad to say, sometimes one of the most less desirable parts of the population. They're really outcasted by society. people don't really pay them as much attention as you would think. Yeah, everybody says they're gonna be nice. You know, you see the kid with disability, like, let's help them out. Let's be nice to them. But in reality, like, you know, I get to see what some of these people's everyday lives really look like, and I know that they're socially very limited. It's not really a lot of opportunities for them. And a lot of things that we might take for granted, like being able to just get up and fix ourselves a meal, not have to eat our food completely mushed up, use a feeding tube, being able to just clean ourselves, get ourselves in the shower, it's something that we take for granted.
Yeah.
And just in my experience with them and working in 1 year, it's been life-changing. I've been able to develop some really deep relationships with the people that I work with and the families as well, just learning their stories, learning about what it was like when they were a child, when they went through high school, how people treated them, what their lives are like now. And then hearing those words, you know, now I get them more often, like, hey, you know, you're like my friend, you're my best friend. It's so heartwarming because I know that they don't really say that to a lot of people and they truly don't really have a lot of friends. So this really been a great experience for me.
Yeah, I think the beauty of it and, you know, seeking entrepreneurship and being on a journey of that and working 9 to 5 as we both do, I think there's beauty in understanding where you are, where you're trying to get to. And I saw something, Myron Golden, I mean, that's my guy. I gotta shout him out, but he posted something. He was like, in order to seek greatness, you have to be a servant. Like, don't go just trying to be basically the main, the star. Like, be a servant. How can you help out? How can you go serve someone else? How can you serve underneath someone else? You know, the best coaches are the best assistant coaches, right? And so being able to go humble yourself and not necessarily just, you know, that particular line of work, but being able to go work for somebody else, go see what there is, go learn from somebody else rather than thinking you have to figure it out for yourself. Because everybody wants to be, not everybody, but a lot of people, especially our generation now, wants to be an entrepreneur. I don't want to work for somebody else. I don't want to live by somebody else's means or, you know, be able to get permission from somebody else. I think it's a different mindset. And when you're put in these positions, when you're working in corporate, when you're working for nonprofits, when you're working for someone else, you understand the humility that it takes to even be an entrepreneur. What you have to deal with, the components, the operations, the steps to be able to fully work by yourself. Because I mean, even like you said, you know, being an entrepreneur is not a 9 to 5. It's not a 40-hour work week.
40-hour work week at all.
At all. You got to pick up the phone. You got to do the things. But for me, I think it's just humbling to be able to be put in situations like when you ask God for patience, when you ask God for this and that, like it's jobs like these or going to work your 9 to 5 that give you, that arm you with these abilities to be able to see beyond what you think you might want, or just continue to build you into the person that you need to be to even attain what you want.
Right.
Because even if I give it to you right now, are you prepared for it? If I gave you millions right now, what would you do with it? And you know, a lot of people say, what would you do with $1 million? Right? Some people just sit there and they're stuck because they don't know. But when you get educated to the point figuring out what you actually want to do in this life, that answer is really simple. And a lot of the times it's not monetary. It's not what am I going to do to enhance my life with $1 million, but what can I do to make it a better place for other people? So I think that's the difference in, you know, how we gain humility and ultimately, you know, trying to get to the next step.
Yeah, I think it's even more interesting that you said how, you know, we ask God for things. And I think this ties back into the entire story that we've been discussing and sharing today, is that I remember vividly, like this is a very good memory in my head. I remember asking God for wisdom. And I asked him for wisdom before a lot of these things happened. And then all these things started happening. All these things that were just derailing me and taking me away from what I thought I wanted to focus on, what I thought I wanted to be. But I kept asking God for wisdom, and he just kept putting me through hell and hardship. And then more lately, I've been reflecting and realizing that that's exactly what I asked God for. You know, there's 2 ways to acquire wisdom. You can go talk to somebody that's been through it, or you can go through it yourself. Me being more hard-headed, especially, you know, as you become more educated, one of the downsides of that is if you don't check yourself, your ego will grow as well. Like you said, I started gaining, you know, acquiring a lot of knowledge. My ego grew with it. So it became hard for me to learn from other people. So I guess God said, you know, I'm going to just let you learn yourself. So, I mean, that's just a funny point. I thought I wanted to emphasize that you say you gotta be careful. Definitely gotta be careful what you ask God for, but never regret it.
For sure. For sure. And, you know, do you have any regrets? Is there anything that you would change? You know, you have a story to tell. You have you come from somewhere,
Right.
from highs and from low lows.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you would change about, I guess, maybe a reaction of yours or something that you can personally control?
Um, I think in the past, I would answer that question to say yes. But the more I reflect on it, I don't don't think I would. And I don't think I should, because back to my point of every low point that I went through, and like you said, when you spoke to me when I was going through some of my low points, I think that's when I gained the most. Like at the bottom is when I genuinely gained the most of my life. Because when I was really comfortable, a lot more sheltered, hadn't really hit too many hardships yet, I don't know if I would have developed the character to get through my senior year with a child.
Yeah.
Of having to push through something like that. I probably would have quit then, and then quitting then, and me breaking then, that much later in life would not have given me the same time
That's
to rebound
crazy.
and to run into people. So
Yeah.
me breaking and dropping out of school, I would have never went on that journey about the body and the mind and the health. And a lot of my religious endeavors with learning what that was like came to that time of me dropping out, of trying to find those
That is
answers, because
right.
I was searching for answers. Growing up with parents as pastors, I didn't get to speak on this earlier, but you know, when people are put in positions of power and leadership, a lot of times they're alienated.
Mm.
You know, I've been in different positions that you've held as just being a team captain. I remember, you know, we used to play on the team together here in the Creek. And I don't know if you can speak to that, but it probably was sometimes you felt alienated. I know from the group, at least from being a guy that wasn't the team captain, I know we definitely alienated you from my side and made you a little bit less human, because when you're put in that position to lead people, you're now responsible for people. And one thing people are not going to do, they're not going to let you be responsible with the same level. So they got to try to take you outside the group. So that kind of happened with my parents, and by them being alienated and being leaders, people judge them differently because leaders are held to different standards. But not just the leader, now everything attached to the leader is held to different standards. So being that pastor's kid, just those eyes on me and that pressure to always kind of uphold an image, because that's kind of what church and leadership really is upholding images. These people aren't perfect. I'm telling you, you know, from a first person point of view of seeing it from the back office side, these people aren't perfect. They're people, but the people on the other side don't see that.
Yeah.
So I kind of got that same pressure myself.
Yeah.
Of just having to uphold that image of not really make too many mistakes. So I mean, that kind of helped me out now in life. You know, being an entrepreneur. You know, being an entrepreneur, business networking. Is images, is how people see you, is how you present yourself, so how you carry yourself. So nah, I don't think I would change a thing. I don't think I would be the person I am now, and I don't think I would be the person I'm going to grow into if I changed anything that happened in my past.
I think the biggest thing you said I take from that is, you know, when you did have your kid and your first child and being in school, like you said, a lot of people would have dropped out or have dropped out. We've seen that story before.
Right.
But you left school before that.
Right.
So, you know, that was God's way of saying, I'm going to take you through this because I already know what's getting ready to happen.
I didn't even think about that 100%.
So it took you back to go forward.
Right.
So now you're already kind of armed. Like I'm talking about being armed to be able to deal with these situations.
Oh, for sure.
And talk about alienation and just being upholding an image and even having a brand. To be able to be fortunate enough to even just sit in front of these cameras is one of those things where it's like, you know, you got to possibly watch what you say, watch what you do outside of this. But for me, you know, I'm just authentically myself.
Yeah.
And what I do outside of this, obviously, yes, it does hold weight. But at the end of the day, I'm human. At the end of the day, I'm gonna sit here. I'm gonna own my dirt. I'm gonna own the success that I'm gonna have. To own the failures that I'm going to have. And I really don't think there's any such thing as failure.
Yeah, for sure.
You can't fail unless you quit.
Mm-hmm.
And when I mean quit, I mean just stop, just give up. And I mentioned this before, but, you know, they say the false narrative is that quitters never win or winners never quit. Mm-hmm. Winners do quit.
Yeah.
Winners quit things that don't serve them. And so, you know, just to wrap it all up, and I think it's just something about humility, something about just character in general, just being a man of character and a black man specifically. And that's kind of what I want to get into is we haven't really talked about it, but that experience is, yes, it's an experience, but it's an experience of a black man. It's an experience of a quote unquote statistic, regardless whether you uphold or you carry on the character of such that would drop out of school, have
sure.
2 children, be from where you're from, but still be successful. You are in some way, shape, or form a statistic.
Oh, I've definitely filled the stat sheet up.
Yeah. So how do you navigate through that, and do you even think about that, or do you even care?
Oh, for sure. I think about it. I think I thought about it more when I first had my children than I do maybe now. But definitely, I think about it. I think navigating it now is more so back to the point of you saying of understanding that I am human. I think I got to that statistic point of like going back to the point of being under the light, of having those expectations. I became the statistic by not trying to be the statistic in a sense. Like all that pressure of like, don't do this, don't do that. All those things got repressed real early on. So then when I got that taste of freedom, when I hit that hardship, everything that was repressed, a lot of those mistakes I wasn't allowed to make when I was younger because it was eyes on me, it broke out. And it all happened at once. So I think now, like going through those situations and gaining that wisdom and that knowledge, it's just about changing the trajectory of my life and understanding that at one point in my life, I was being a follower, but now I'm being a leader. And I didn't really respect being a leader until I understood that there was actually people that did look up to me. Like, they were younger kids that would come up to me. They'd be excited when they see me and stuff like that. So recognizing the weight that I did hold in my community is like, you gotta do better, because now you're not just representing yourself. You represent the community that you claim you love so much. You represent the community that made you into who you are.
Yeah.
Whether that be through positive or negative experiences, it all was for the betterment of becoming who I am. So now it's just about carrying myself the proper way, realizing I'm not perfect, giving myself room to grow, giving myself room to make mistakes. But with every opportunity I get to impact another life that I come across, I take it.
Yeah.
And, people can probably attest that I do talk a lot. So, if I catch you and I'm talking, I'm sorry. But I feel like I just can't let that opportunity go by, because if I let it pass, who's to say the person after me is going to come and tell this person something that could potentially change their life, or tell this person that they are worth something, that you can be better, that you can do more.
Yeah. So specifically, you talk about, you just mentioned that the impact you have on somebody, and specifically younger individuals. What would you say to a young black boy right now, based on your experience?
Based on my experience, it's okay to be hurt. It's okay to be broken. And it's 100% okay to go through things. And it's even more normalized to not say anything, but if you're going through something, 9 times out of 10, you're not alone. You're not the only one going through it, and you do have a support system, and you do have people around you. I think just being a black man, a lot of times, we're taught to just put it on our shoulders and handle it, like carry that weight. And we just completely become blinded to the support and the people we have around us that's actually willing to help us carry that weight, but we just told that's not what men do. So accept help, be vulnerable, let people help you, talk to people, go find somebody to talk to if you're going through something. Reach out to me after this if you're going through something. I'm more than open to talk about it and share my experiences and go a little bit more in depth about some of the things I've experienced and went through that I didn't share on here because I, didn't feel comfortable sharing it. So definitely just understand that you're never alone in any of this. I think that there's people out there that have gone through way worse things than I have, and it's a common thing that we experience these type of traumas in our community. So reaching out for help really is the biggest thing, because there is resources out there. There's individuals like yourself, what you're doing, and with other individuals I know that are trying to help people. But we have to be open to the help, and we gotta be willing to be vulnerable, and it's easier said than done.
But I think vulnerability is the most important thing, especially for our black men, for us as black men, because we, like, too cool for school is a thing. Like, I can't stand that. I can't stand making fun of people for how they feel, how they look. I've probably done it in the past, so to be a hypocrite of the past, but now today, and just that judgment of not even knowing what somebody's going through, right? Or just really just being vulnerable. Like for me, just talk about women, for example, like we want to be we want to seem hard and tough and want to, kind of show off and act like we don't care and stuff like that. But it's like, forget all that. Like, just tell people how you feel. Tell people what it's really like. Because at the end of the day, you're just masking emotions that ultimately it doesn't benefit you from building that wall. And so I've realized that I still am able to handle stuff on my own and go through stuff on my own. But when it comes to, being a man, I think one of the testaments of being a man and the characteristics of a man is his vulnerability, because it gives you the ability to express your feelings, but also understand why you feel that way and be able to, heal from whatever it is that you're going through. And I don't even think everything is a healing process, right? I think some things are just learning processes. We're just learning more about ourselves. And so as we continue to learn about ourselves, as we continue to be in rooms and show up as Black men, I think it's important that we lead with vulnerability and lead with transparency. Being transparent and you being transparent enough to just express, your feelings, emotions of depression, anxiety, and things that you've gone through, is big. It's very a testament to your character, a testament to who you want to be, and to speak to those that can hear you, that can relate to your situation. So your voice is powerful, so just continue to do that. And not just your own family's life, but the legacy that you want to live. Which brings me to ask you the question of what defines success. What is success? What is success to you?
Yeah, so I love that you said define what success is to me, because I do truly believe that success is very situational and it's very personal. Everybody has a different goal that they're trying to attain. But for me personally, I know that success for me and my vision is that when I pass away, I would have progressed the culture, the African-American culture, at least in my city, further to where the people that are going to come after me, my great-great-grandkids and all of their friends, they're going to value education more. They're going to value finance more. I want to buy a lot of the communities in Annapolis. I want to own them before I pass away so that we can reinvest into our communities, put more grocery stores in front of our communities, put more Black-owned businesses in our communities so that we can hire our own people, so that we can offer opportunity to our own people, only because I feel that a lot of the opportunity that's offered to us doesn't necessarily come from us, so it's not necessarily controlled by us. At any point in time, this opportunity can be shut off because the funding can be shut off, because the grants can be shut off. So how much power do we really, really own in those situations, right? So I want to put us in a situation of putting the power back in the hands of the culture of the people in the city of Annapolis, promoting Black home ownership, but not just buying the communities, but then offering the ability for my people to buy the community back from me. You can own your own home, you can own your own apartment, because like I said, getting into the mortgages and the insurance, ownership is where wealth starts. Owning a family, owning a business, owning a craft, owning a trade. Maybe it's just owning a good job, but that's where the wealth starts. And if we can bring wealth back into the communities, then we can bring opportunity back into the community, and then we ultimately get the control back. And then once we're in control, then we truly get to choose which way our culture and our people are gonna go.
So I'm gonna be the person on the other end of that camera watching us and saying, what's the reality of that? Like, what is the reality of you buying this, buying that, owning this, owning that?
It's doable. I think that, like I said, getting into a mortgage business, learning how the game of real estate works, learning how you even buy a home, and then also being on the side of servicing that. I think I'm going to learn a lot about the mortgage business and how real estate works in the next year or two. And then from there, it's just hitting the ground running. Like I said, understanding the finance aspect of it. I mean, it's kind of crazy. Even what I do with individual disability has a lot to do with money and insurance and housing and things like that. So right now I'm in a space in my life where I'm building a lot of relationships with a lot of people, and I'm learning a lot of information about how things work. And then once I feel like I've gotten to a point, and I'm getting really, really close to that point now, where I've got the information down to start running, then it's just simple as just start running. And then whoever God's put next to me when I start running, I know they're there. I know that that's who God sent, to help me accomplish that mission. So I believe it's very doable. I believe like going back to like the owning and everything, that'll be something I do before I die. Definitely want to see it before I'm 40 years old, but I'll give myself definitely a good time frame to learn the game and then to start attacking it and building those relationships even deeper.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, regardless of, I know I mentioned being the other person on the camera, just kind of seeing asking you that question. But regardless of what other people think, you know, just be you, your genuine self, get to your definition of success and continue to grow and build, create, and inspire. You know, that's what we're here to do. Provoke thought through conversation, through our conversations, being able to have genuine conversations that may spark the interest of others to be able to make a change or change their perspective in their life. So, you know, much love. I appreciate you, bro.
I appreciate you having me.
I'm counting blessings more than people counting sheep in they sleep. And they don't make it where I'm from, and I'm so thankful it's me.